The first thing Karen did when she saw the ramp was roll her eyes like we'd built a factory on the front lawn, and then she decided to issue a rule of fine and a security detail. I remember thinking, this is what a modern petty war looks like: one aluminum ramp, a pile of permits, and suddenly your life is under surveillance. By noon, there was a golf cart in my driveway, and by the end of the week there were threats on official letterhead. The drill still echoed in the morning air as the contractor tightened the last bolt. Sunlight glinting off the brushed aluminum like a promise we'd earned after months of paperwork, meetings, and waiting. My wife rolled down that ramp for the first time, a small, stunned laugh sliding off her like a secret. For her, it was distance reclaimed, the porch no longer a mountain, the world no longer a hallway of closed doors. The ramp wasn't slapped on. The builder matched the house lines, the finish complemented the brick, and for the first time since the accident, she looked like herself again. We bought the place because it sat just outside the Willows, the gated development with the manicured lawns and the gatehouse, and that was the point. No HOA breathing down our necks about paint colors or mailbox style. The realtor was blunt outlaw, not in the gated neighborhood. That detail mattered to us. Freedom from committees, the comfort of privacy. We ran the permits through the city, passed inspections, saved every receipt in a folder thick enough to use as a doorstop. Then an orange sticker on our front door knocked the color out of the afternoon. Notice of violation, it said in red, and my stomach dropped in a way the news never can mimic. Unauthorized structural modification, non-compliant materials, fine $500, compliance required in 5 business days, failure to comply $100 per day. Signed at the bottom, Karen Willows Community Association Board President. When I called Karen, sounded like someone who'd practiced sounding official in the mirror for years. I drove by yesterday and documented it, she said. It looks industrial. It's inappropriate. It's bringing down property values. I told her we weren't part of the HOA. The deed and the plat map said so. She cut me off. Everyone on this street falls under the Willows jurisdiction, she said flatly. Paint it beige or tear it down, she ordered, or the fines double. There's a peculiar corrosion that happens when someone with a clipboard decides they can rewrite reality polite life tips over into argument, and neighbors become adjudicators by inclination. Official-looking letterhead has weight. People assume names and signatures equal right. I drove to the county courthouse, pulled the plat, and looked for the lines that mattered. There they were, our lot outside the boundary by about 50 feet, our deed marked out as an outlot. I held the paper and felt that strange, quiet triumph that comes with proof. I mailed a certified request for any covenants or annexation documents. Certified mail leaves a trail and paper outranks bluster. Instead of the requested documents, I got a cease and desist and another notice threatening to remove the ramp as unauthorized debris. The next morning, a security guard in a white polo perched on a golf cart at the end of our driveway with a clipboard like armor. He said he was monitoring compliance. He watched like someone guarding a crime scene. I walked past and felt the resentful hum of being treated like an exhibit. Neighbors filled in pieces of a pattern. The elderly woman 2 doors down told me Karen had been doing drive-by inspections for months, taking pictures of people's porches and mailboxes, ticking off offenses that no one else had even noticed. It was less community governance than a personal crusade. That's when the folder in my glove compartment graduated to a briefcase, permits, inspection reports, receipts, emails from the city planner, photos of the guard. I sat with an attorney who had the calm face of someone who reads other people's bureaucratic nonsense for breakfast. They have zero legal authority here, he said after a long, quiet look at the plat. But they've crossed lines that could be actionable: harassment threats, potentially interference with a federally protected reasonable accommodation. He sketched options: send a polite correction, or prepare a package that would make the board sweat. Quiet would probably let the bully regroup. Loud might stop it. We chose loud. The next letter we sent was surgical copies of the deed, the plat, the permits, a timeline of calls and notices, photos of the guard, and a plain statement: withdraw all fines, stop monitoring our property, provide written apology and compensation for legal fees and emotional distress, or we file a complaint with HUD and pursue litigation. 10 days. It felt like making a promise to the future. The HOA called a meeting. Karen didn't show. The rest of the board walked into the attorney's office with the awkwardness of people who had been wearing a cloak that turned out to be see-through. Under pressure, they discovered two rude facts: they had no claim to our property, and Karen had been acting without proper board approval. Posture met paperwork, and posture crumpled. Within a week, the fines were withdrawn. The security company told to stand down, and a formal apology arrived on letterhead that read less like capitulation and more like correction. They cut a check for $5,000 to cover fees and the hassle, not a vindictive sum, just a clear note that what happened was wrong and costly. Karen resigned. The HOA commissioned a boundary survey and started training on disability accommodations. That settlement was useful beyond cash. It opened a window for neighbors who had been paying phantom fines or making pointless modifications. They pulled out deeds, compared notes, demanded documentation. Small victories followed refunds, apologies, a few simpler corrections, and the neighborhood's mood shifted from avoidant to curious. People discovered that the machinery of governance is not magical, it's procedural. Ask for the paperwork request, the records keep the receipts. There was a petty, joyful coda, a tasteful neon sign in our parlor window that reads, "Not a member." It's small and smug, and every time someone glances from behind the gated side, I imagine the twitch of recognition. More meaningful than the sign is the quiet scene on ordinary Tuesdays, my wife gliding down that silver ramp into sunlight, the way her face relaxes when the world isn't a series of barriers anymore. That's the real win. If there's a moral, it isn't a lecture, it's a practice. Laws and protections exist to guard the vulnerable, but they only help if someone uses them. Bullies rely on the hum of bureaucracy and the assumption that people will be too tired or polite to check the deed. Sometimes your defense is paperwork, and sometimes it's the stubborn refusal to be bullied. Keep your certified mail receipts, photograph the moment, and when authority smells off, ask for the deed. So tell me, if an official-sounding neighbor shows up with accusations about your house, do you paint and placate, or do you dig through the county records and fight? Drop your thoughts below, share your own neighbor bully story. And if you like this, hit like and subscribe. I'll bring you the next small, stubborn fight for fairness soon.